Hi, welcome to This Week in Ames. I'm Susan Guiazza. On today's show, we check in with the Ames Police Department. My guest today is Eric Snyder, who is the Community Resource Officer, newly named with the Ames Police Department.
Yes.
Eric, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So how long have you been a police officer, and tell me a little bit about the title Community Resource Officer?
I have been a police officer for just a little over 10 years. The Community Resource Officer is kind of the face of the department. We do community outreach talks. We get a lot of requests for elementary school presentations, group presentations throughout town. We also do outreach with various groups in town to help educate people on what we do and how we do it. I'm kind of the liaison between the community and the police officers. We all have a community outreach effort on our day-to-day jobs, but most officers don't have the time. They have to get from call to call to do the service. I'm actually given the time to spend doing some outreach and getting into the community.
So this is a relatively new position for you.
It is. I started at the beginning of December.
And there are a couple of what I call sort of specialty officer positions, like the School Resource Officer, also called SRO.
Correct.
Community Resource Officer, CRO. Are there any others?
We have the Safe Neighborhoods team, which I'm actually a part of, that does a similar role, but generally at night, and then they're more of an enforcement-based. They do a lot of education, but then they also follow up with enforcement in our hotspot areas, high crime areas. If we have a burglary spree or something like that, they would be out patrolling in those areas to help catch the people and prevent those crimes.
So a lot of what you're doing is advocacy. You said outreach, education. Do you sort of identify areas where maybe more education is needed and then try to hit that?
Yes, we do sometimes. One of the big things that we're looking at right now is bicycle, pedestrian, and driver safety, and how all of those modes of transportation interact. That's one of those comprehensive things that we need to take a look at, and there's so many moving parts to it that community outreach is a perfect place to take some time to look at those things.
It's funny, on my show we do a lot of discussion on transportation, and we've had many people from the bike community here. I don't know if I'm just noticing it more, or there's more people doing year-round biking. There's a lot more, it just seems to be a lot more different modes of transportation out there.
Yeah, I think it's a combination. I've noticed the same thing. In fact, today I just went to get my hair cut, and a guy came out of getting his hair cut and got on his bicycle, even in a snowstorm. People are riding their bikes everywhere. So it's not just in the spring or the summer that you have to start looking out for bicycles. There's joggers that are out at early in the morning. There's people that are very into fitness in this community, which is a great thing, that are out running, and in a snowstorm when the sidewalks are full of snow, they'll happen to run in the street. So you really need to pay attention, no matter what mode of transportation you're using, for other people out on the roads and the sidewalks.
And we talk a lot about the university and its growth, and that we see a lot more younger people, which sometimes they're drawn to more of those activities, the jogging, the running, the biking. But it's not just on campus anymore. We're seeing that spread out throughout the entire community, the idea that you have to be a defensive driver.
Absolutely. The thing that we preach is defensive driving and respect for each other. If you are looking out for yourself and being defensive, you're more likely to see the problem before it gets there. If you're respecting others and giving yourself a little more time and giving everybody a little bit more space, you're less likely to have to be a defensive driver. So those two things together really work to prevent problems.
And then talk about the other side. If you are the biker or the pedestrian, what is your responsibility?
You really need to know, no matter what your mode of transportation, you need to know what rules apply to you, and you kind of need to think about where people are going to expect you. So for example, if you're riding a bicycle on a sidewalk, some of our business districts, it's not allowed to ride bicycles on sidewalks because people could suddenly walk out of a door and you could collide. So you need to know those things, and then you need to expect, if you're in an area that maybe isn't prohibited, that might happen. You need to expect that if you're crossing in a crosswalk with a bicycle, drivers and pedestrians may not be thinking about that. On the other side of that, drivers and pedestrians need to be thinking about that. So this really is, it's not targeted at any one group saying you're doing anything wrong. It's targeted at every group to say, hey, think about what the other groups are doing and think about where other people might be, and everybody just have a little extra respect for each other and learn about what each other are doing, and everybody will be safer.
So this emphasis on being respectful biker, walker, motorist, do you reach out to other organizations and partner to sort of help get your word out?
Yes, we actually just launched an educational campaign called Bike, Walk, Drive, Smart. It is based on the principles that I just spoke of, and we're in the process of gathering people in with us to do this. There's been a lot of different groups that have looked at this problem, a lot of committees that have met to address this problem, and it is a very complex problem. It's hard to get much done with. We've decided that let's start with something and build it as we go. So we're in the process of gathering some of that support. The Ames Bicycle Coalition has been active. They've always been reaching out to us on these safety issues. The government student body with ISU has reached out to us to partner with us on this. So anybody that wants to get involved with this can contact me, and we're happy to bring people into it. And we're just going to keep moving with it and bringing new people on as we move. But we got some momentum going, so we're going to keep it.
And I know that you did an event where you were actually on campus encouraging students when the start of the spring semester. I know there were volunteers from the local churches, Campus Town Action Association, so it seems like you're already sort of getting this mass of support.
There is a ton of support in this community for this issue, and I think it's one of those really complex problems that some of the simplest ideas are way more complex than you realize. So everybody wants to do something, it's just hard to know what to do. So there's a whole lot of people chomping at the bit to get involved, so it hasn't been hard to get support from the community, which has been fantastic. It's just a matter of coordinating all of that and getting everybody involved.
Well, and obviously the idea of changing behavior is always the hard thing. So it's called Bike, Walk, Drive, Smart. Okay, so look for that campaign as it gets nicer out. We'll probably see more and more people out.
Yes, you will continue to see things rolling out. We're going to do videos, educational videos. We will do different events like we did out in that campus town area, where we'll actually be out on the street in businesses, things like that, to really get this message out. But really what we're looking for is for people to respect each other, travel defensively, and everybody will be safer.
Great. Well, thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
If you want more information about that program, that is Bike, Walk, Drive, Smart, you can get more information on our social media pages. You can look for Ames Police on Facebook and Twitter, as well as City of Ames on Facebook and Twitter. Also remember, our website is www.cityofames.org. One more thing for your calendar as we get into February. Remember that Monday, February 15th, we will be closed for President's Day. Well, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching, and tune in next week for This Week in Ames.